It is so good to be back with you doing another cooking video. It's been a little while, but we've had a lot going on here. I wanted to share with you today a few things that I like to make to have on hand during the holidays when family and friends are coming in and out and we're all real busy getting ready for the holidays, but you still want to have delicious things to offer your guests. So I'm going to share with you a few of my favorites. Let's get started. So the first thing we're going to make is one of my favorite dips, and it's one of my guests' favorite dips too. It's called the BLT Dip. And so this is just something that you put together. It's 1 cup of sour cream, 1 cup of mayonnaise, 1 cup of shredded sharp cheddar cheese. There's 6 slices of bacon that I cooked up earlier. So you can crumble this, or I'm just going to cut it up. Add this. I'm just going to cut up a little bit of green onion. I don't want that to be too strong. So a couple tablespoons of green onion and 1 cup of cherry tomatoes. And I'm just going to cut these into quarters and add them. And then stir it up. The bacon and the tomato and the onion and cheese just makes a really, really delicious dip. So we'll go ahead and put this in the fridge and get started on our next dish. The next thing I want to show you how to make is my great-grandmother's apple cake. This is something my mom used to make for us all the time when we were young in the fall, when the apples were at their peak. And it just gives me just warm memories of growing up and then doing the same thing for my family. And I know when I serve it now, people enjoy it. So I hope you will like it as much as they do. So to get started, what we're going to do is we are going to cream together 1 stick of unsalted butter, 2 eggs. These are large eggs. And then we'll add 2 cups of sugar. Now, before we mix that, I'm going to combine my dry ingredients. I have 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. I'm just going to stir these together. And then the last thing we want to do is we want to make sure we have 4 cups of chopped apples. I started this so you wouldn't have to watch me chopping all of these apples. But I use Granny Smith's. I like the tartness of that apple. I also like the way it kind of holds up in a cake. So first thing is we're going to cream the sugar, the butter, and the eggs. Then we will add the dry ingredients and get them completely incorporated into the butter, sugar, egg mixture. And then the last thing we'll do is we'll throw the apples in. I have the paddle attachment on my mixer, and I can go ahead and just incorporate the apples into the batter with this paddle attachment. So let's go ahead and cream this up. That looks good. So now I'm going to add our dry ingredients. Okay, that looks good. Just scrape down the sides, make sure it's all incorporated. I'm just going to add my apples. Put this down there and there carefully. I don't want to crush them. So I'm just watching it, and as soon as it looks like all of the apples are incorporated into the batter, just put it into this pan. See how thick that batter is? So we just want to spread this evenly in the pan. So I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees. And I am going to bake this for 45 to 55 minutes. So as a main dish and something really easy to make ahead, I can bake these off now, I can make them now and freeze them, I can keep them for a few days in the refrigerator. But we are going to be making ham and leek empanadas. There are quite a few ingredients here, but I promise you it is not hard to make, and it's a very impressive and delicious dish. What I'm going to do first is just start to chop some things up. So I'll start with my ham, And again, I just want a small dice on this. So we'll start with the ham. And then I'm just going to grate by hand my Gruyere. This is a little more than 4 ounces. Then I'm going to take my spinach. And I'm just going to rough chop this spinach and then I'll put it back into the bowl. And then for my fresh basil, I want about 2 tablespoons of basil. And then I'm going to very thinly slice them. Okay, the next thing I'm going to prep is my egg and some milk for an egg wash. I don't need it right away, but I want to have it ready. So I have 1 egg and 2 tablespoons of milk. And I'm just going to mix those together. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to chop this leek. Buying these leeks already cleaned makes such a difference in how quickly you can get this prepped. So I'm going to saute these leeks. So I've got my butter, 1.5 tablespoons of butter. Because what we're going to do is we're going to saute these leeks for about 4 minutes. We don't want them to turn brown, but we do want them to become translucent. I'm going to add my leeks. And just let those wilt down for about 4 minutes. So these leeks look like they're finished. So I'm just going to add my 1/3 cup of creme fraiche. Stir that around. We're really kind of melting that creme fraiche into the leeks. So I am going to give my ham and cheese a quick stir to kind of mix that a little bit. Then I'm going to top that with my leek and creme fraiche mixture. Then the spinach and basil. Then I have 1/2 cup of grated Parmesan. And then I'm going to do a sprinkling of salt and pepper. We're just going to mix that all up, and that is the filling for our empanadas. So the last thing we're going to do is prepare the pastry. I'm going to need, I might as well get this done first. I'm going to need 3 sheet pans. These are 1/2 sheet pans. This is going to make 12 empanadas. So I'm just going to put some parchment in these so that the empanadas don't stick. So our dough for our empanadas is going to be puff pastry. And we need 2 boxes of puff pastry. So I took these out of the freezer a little while ago because I want them to be soft enough that I can roll them. I don't want them to stick to my board though, so I'm going to put a little bit of flour on my board. So I'm just going to unroll this. Then I'm going to take my rolling pin and I'm going to roll this out so it's about 11 inches by 11 inches. And then I'm going to take a knife and I'm going to cut this into quarters. I'm going to have 4 squares. So I have my filling and a 1/3 cup measure. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use a little brush and I'm going to brush the edges of each of these with a little bit of egg wash. This is going to act as sort of a glue. Now I just need about 1/3 cup of the filling. I'm just going to put it right into the middle of each empanada. So now all I have to do is make triangles. So I'm going to go from the back and pull it gently over to the front. And I want to make sure that this is sealed so that my filling doesn't pop out when it's baking. But I'm going to take my fork and I'm just going to crimp the edges to make sure that nothing comes out. Okay, so my first 4 are ready. I can put them onto the pan. And I'll finish these with some more of the egg wash. That'll make them brown up really nicely in the oven. So now I'm just going to finish up the last 2 batches of this. Let me check on my cake, see how it's doing. Ooh, I think that's perfect. So my oven is hot, 400 degrees. So I'm going to put my trays of empanadas in here. I'm going to set the timer for 20 minutes and I'll check them at 20. Maybe rotate the pans. While our empanadas are baking, I'm going to put together a quick salad. Now, if I wanted to have this in my refrigerator sort of ready to go, what I would do is I would have my arugula washed, dried in a bag. Then I would have my blue cheese in another container that I could quickly grab, and my pecans. And then I would have my salad dressing already made and put it into a jar. So our salad dressing is half a cup of oil, half a cup of this is just a red wine vinegar. You could use a sherry vinegar, 1.5 teaspoons of Dijon mustard, and about a teaspoon of honey. I'm just going to whisk this together. So my dressing is ready. I'm going to sprinkle my blue cheese on the arugula. I have some toasted pecans. And then I have 2 Basque pears. You can either peel them or not. I'm not going to. I'm just going to core them. So I'm going to wait to dress this salad until right before we eat. These look so good. I'm going to go ahead and put some dressing on the salad. And the last thing we're going to do is I'm going to pour a little cocktail for Harrison and me. This is super simple. I'll give you the recipe. It is a bottle of bourbon, half a gallon of apple cider, and 2 tablespoons of caramel syrup. And it makes a really yummy cocktail that you can keep in a pitcher in your refrigerator for people to grab. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll try some of these things. It makes a really delicious fall supper, things that you can make ahead, have in your fridge, and be ready when family and friends drop in on you. Cheers. Happy holidays.